After Attack on Titan's ending, you may have some questions. So in today's video, we'll be fully explaining the ending of Attack on Titan so that you'll know exactly what you just saw. Keep in mind as well, I am also a manga reader and have extensively studied Attack on Titan over the last 3 to 4 years on this channel. So this is a comprehensive and precise explanation. If you love Attack on Titan, Jujutsu Kaisen, One Piece, Demon Slayer, or Chainsaw Man, then this is the channel for you. Subscribe and drop a like and help get this video out there to spread the good word of Attack on Titan. So to start out with the super basics, after Zeke is killed, the rumbling is stopped. This is because Eren has to always be in contact with someone of royal blood to have the rumbling be activated. So with no contact with Zeke, the rumbling is stopped dead in its tracks. From here on out, Eren cannot reactivate the rumbling unless he somehow calls in an emergency airdrop containing Historia. Anyways, Mikasa has a sudden realization. The time Eren told Mikasa the lies about the Ackerman gene and beating up Armin cannot be their last meeting. The final words that he says to her can't be, "I always hated you." As she's thinking about this, from the crater of where the Doomsday Titan, Eren's name for the founding Titan form, was in, Armin as the Colossal Titan makes his way out. You can visibly see the despair on Armin's face as he realizes what he had just done. He had to come to the last option, which was to kill his own brother. However, the hallucinogenia, which is trying to return to its host, Eren, is being held down by Reiner as the Armored Titan. This is important as the hallucinogenia found inside the basin of a tree is the very organism which attached itself to Ymir Fritz 2,000 years ago to create the very first founding Titan. To put it simply, this is the very organism responsible for the existence of the Titans. Even more so than Ymir or King Fritz. So this fight between it and Reiner is just as important as the one with Eren. However, surprisingly, Eren is still alive, likely from being able to regenerate as a Titan shifter and transforms, nuking that poor crater once again. Eren has now transformed into a hulking colossal Titan, just like Armin. Eren is able to do this for the same reasons that he was able to summon the Colossal Titan on the back of the Doomsday Titan, along with the history of all the other Titans. Simply put, Ymir Fritz gave him the power to do so. This leads to one of the all-time greatest anime fights ever, as Armin and Eren as the Colossal Titans engage in a battle that we've wanted to see since the very first episode of the series. Two Colossal Titans locked into battle. While this happens, the hallucinogenia begins to emit smoke, which everyone on Fort Salta, the last Marley stronghold left, inhales the gas. Just like Ragako, Connie's home village, they can now be turned into Titans with just one scream from someone with the same ability Zeke had as the Beast Titan. However, this is different and much worse, as the hallucinogenia itself released smoke, which triggers a delayed transformation. Scream or not, they're turning into pure Titans. Levi, seeing this, then tells Pieck and Mikasa to get on Falco and fly out of there, as the Ackermans and Titan shifters are not affected by any of this. Hearing this for the first time, Pieck is at her wit's end. She can transform hundreds of times in a row, live inside her Titan for months, infiltrate the Jaegerists, but this is one step too far. Under the pressure of seeing her family die before her and all of her friends' family, simply put, this is too much. This goes to show how tough this girl is, that she's able to take on so much, and this is the final breaking point for her. Levi tells Pieck that they both know what they need to do better than anyone else. This is a reference to the theme throughout Attack on Titan of Levi being forced to kill his own friends or see them die. This happened with Isabel and Ferland, Squad Levi, Nifa, Erwin, and the Survey Corps. Pieck, just like Levi, knows what they need to do because, well, Pieck is similar to Levi, and Pieck believes that she fights for her comrades and friends first. This was proven at the end of Part 1 and the beginning of Part 2 when she tells Gabby that they don't fight for Marley, they fight to protect their friends and keep them alive. This is the same for Levi, as he doesn't fight for anyone other than those he fights alongside. The hallucinogenia activates the transformation of what's left of Marley's civilians into pure Titans, along with Connie and John as they reminisce about the day they burned the bodies. This is a reference to them burning the bodies of those lost within the suicide charge of Shingon Shina. The hallucinogenia then summons the pure Titans to attack Reiner as Armin and Eren lock into battle. Pieck and Annie then provide backup as the cart and female Titans as the pure Titans charge them all, and now it's a waiting game for Levi and Mikasa as they cannot intervene in this battle as both of them are needed to kill Eren and save everyone. As she is told this, Mikasa slips into a dreamlike state, all because of her deadbeat boyfriend. Waking up in a serene place where there is a cabin in a peaceful land with mountains, butterflies, animals, and your mom, Eren rouses Mikasa from a gentle nap as we are gifted with Eren's short hair once more. The reason for this is because after the death of Eren and the full activation of his powers and memories, Eren stopped caring in general about living, and so he grew out his hair long, which symbolized that Eren had nothing left to live for, other than moving forward and completing the rumbling. The reason he has short hair here is because Eren cares for Mikasa, and so he took the form of short hair, which is also what Mikasa prefers Eren to look like as well, and honestly, so do I. Also, as an aside, the reason Mikasa has her hair back to normal is because this is how Eren sees her as well, not with short hair. This is because Mikasa did grow her hair out a bit, but one day, it was accidentally cut at the knot it was tied up in. This also is exactly why Mikasa's hair was so short in the final season. It wasn't her intention, it was just an accident. And also, considering that Eren had not seen her until much later after she had the short hair, well, he didn't have much time to experience Mikasa with that hair, and so he remembers her with much longer hair. In a moment that directly mirrors episode 1, Under the Tree, Mikasa wakes up and cries suddenly. This mirrors the nightmare that Eren had in episode 1 that was in reality memories sent from Ymir and future Eren. Mikasa says she wondered why she doesn't belong here, which is when Eren says that they can't go back now, not after they ran away that night they had in Marley. This timeline they're in is basically one in which Mikasa that night, when Eren asked her what he means to her, she confesses her love and they run away together, spending the rest of Eren's life in a remote location, living peacefully. Which is also a mirror of the way that Mikasa lived with her parents, in a cabin in the woods, far away from civilization. This is a representation of Mikasa returning to her most happiest time, her childhood. So in that space of time, the war with Marley ended, and in 2 months since, the invasion of Paradis will soon begin. So running away was the only way anyone could survive, and as well, that Armin was likely already dead. He also couldn't sacrifice Astoria and continue the endless slaughter of a partial rumbling, and he couldn't destroy all of humanity outside the walls. So, this was their only option. Running away. This above all else confirms that Eren had no choice in activating the rumbling, as it was either he commit genocide or let Marley commit genocide. So he has 4 years left, and in reality it was her who asked him to run away with him. This means that Mikasa always made the right choice by not confessing her love to Eren, because if she did, he would have given up his dream and the world and even Armin for her. So the two embrace one final time, and Eren cuts to the chase and tells Mikasa to make him one final promise: to throw away the scarf once he is dead. This is because Eren feels immense guilt over what he put Mikasa through, and because of that, Eren feels that the best thing to happen to Mikasa would be to forget about him altogether. After all, this is the mass murderer who committed genocide and omnicide. As well, Mikasa has plenty of life left, so he wants her to be free of him. All the while, a bird flies over them freely, harkening back to the initial episode of Attack on Titan, and one of the constant reminders that humanity is not free, with the bird representing Eren's fight for freedom. However, Mikasa, despite Eren telling her this, she cannot promise something like that. So as Mikasa awakes from the different timeline, she tells Levi that, and Armin, that the place where Eren is located is inside the Colossal Titan's head. This is because Eren told Mikasa that this is where his head is located, and basically Eren is allowing Mikasa to kill him, as she's the only one he believes should be able to kill him. So Levi launches the Thunder Spear, using Hange's own invention to make a way for Mikasa to rush in, and in a split second, cut off Eren's head, as Mikasa and Eren's final moments together are back at the cabin, where Mikasa says her famous line, "See you later, Eren." The reason she states this is because this is not a goodbye. She plans to see him again when their time is up. Holding the severed head of Eren as Ymir looks upon them with a smile, finally Mikasa and Eren get their kiss as Mikasa breaks the generational-long cycle of hatred between Marley and Eldia. Just as when Mikasa got her final moments, Eren also talks to Armin, and it's revealed that Eren beat up Armin because he was so desperate to get Armin and Mikasa away from them to create distance and protect them, especially from himself. Also, he made sure to do this because it had the perk of making anyone who killed him look like the heroes that saved humanity. Especially if it was Eldians, as it would instantly change their outlook as they'd be the ones who stuck by humanity and saved everyone in the end, despite them being called devils and sinners in the past. Armin, realizing that Eren is setting them up to be essentially heroes and like the Tiber family, tells Armin that they won't be able to fight back for a long time as 80% of the world was destroyed by Eren, so he tells Armin to walk with him as they talk about Ymir Fritz. As a side note, the reason they're back at the docks as kids is because, like Mikasa, this is the time Armin wished he could go back to, when they were kids on the docks just being innocent little fucks. Eren shows Armin burning water, which is magma seeping from an erupting volcano, and Eren says that for 2,000 years now, Ymir has been obeying King Fritz. After all he's done to Ymir, she continued to obey him. And the reason is because through all of this, Ymir Fritz developed Stockholm Syndrome and astonishingly fell in love with King Fritz. You can see this take place in how Ymir always looked at how King Fritz would act around other women and how Ymir would look at them from afar. So, for 2,000 years, she sought someone to free Ymir from her love for Fritz, and that person arrived after 2,000 years. It was Mikasa Ackerman. Why that is, only Ymir would ever know, except that we do know Mikasa's choice: to not forget Eren and kill him, ending the cycle. This means that Ymir never had the strength to kill Fritz and stop the cycle of war and hatred because he was the only thing that Ymir had in his life, along with the children he gave her. Ymir may have not had that strength, so she sought someone who did, and if you remember throughout two of Mikasa's most important scenes and her really entire character, when the Attack Titan first appears and in this episode when she declares she is the strongest when she is cornered, this is the one quality that Ymir didn't have that Mikasa does: the strength to end the cycle of hatred and the love for the man or person who would continue the cycle, aka King Fritz / Eren Yeager. So Armin, connecting the dots, realized that at the medal ceremony, this is the future Eren saw when he touched Historia. He then tells Armin that due to the powers of the attack and founding acting in unison, that his head is literally all messed up. He has gone insane as the future and past all exist at once in his head. 2,000 years of history and an infinite amount of the future all at once playing a violent symphony inside of his head. So either way, he had to go through with this because, well, he didn't have any time. He couldn't hold on any longer than he already did. Then, in a surprising twist, Eren tells Armin that on the day of the attack of Shiganshina, he knew that Barclophagus wasn't supposed to die. As if you remember, the Smiling Titan ignored Barclophagus. This is because Eren was the one who let that Titan go and guided it to their home was none other than Eren himself. Upon this shocking realization, they then switched scenery to the sea, the same one at the end of Season 3. Armin asks if Mikasa can forget about him and move on to someone else living a happy life. He says, who knows? And this angers Armin as he punches Eren, telling him that he wasn't forgiven yet. He chastises him for not thanking and disregarding Mikasa's feelings and love for him, reminding him that she values even Eren over her own life itself. So because of that, can he really just tell her to forget about him? After all, she desperately loves him. Wouldn't it seem unfair? Eren then cries out. At the end of his life, after going through over 20 years of nothing but having his parents be murdered, fighting war after war, living 2,000 years in the past and many more of that into the future, he doesn't want that for her. He doesn't want her to forget about him, and he wants her to think about him for the rest of her life, even after he dies. At least 10 years. This scene pays off multiple scenes throughout the entirety of Attack on Titan, in which we see Eren breaking down in some capacity and showing emotion. Starting in episode 1, when he wakes up, he is seen crying due to the nightmare he had. There is also another example in the same season, where we see Eren wrap the scarf around Mikasa, as he wanted to do so, always to remind Mikasa that Eren will protect her no matter what. Again, he would then be seen breaking down at the end of Season 2, crying, as he vowed to protect the person who meant the most to him from the Titans, Mikasa. Again, he would do this in Season 3, as change up the cavern under the church that he wanted to give up right then and there, as he cried and bawled during the immense pressure of his reality that he must keep moving forward and continue onward. As well, in the final season, after the raid on Liberio and being told of Sasha's death, he breaks down into hysterical laughter and tears, crying over the realization of what he's done, and also his slipping sanity. As well, he broke down and apologized to an Eldian child for what he was about to go through with, which is the rumbling, begging for forgiveness as tears flowed from his face, realizing the monster he had become and how much he hated that fact. This final scene pays off over 10 years of moments throughout Attack on Titan where we see Eren crack under the pressure and break down, showing his true self and inner emotions. The truth is that on the outside he may have showed a hardened exterior only because, really, he had to. He was forced into a position where he literally had to keep moving forward after the cavern in Season 3 and touching Historia during the medal ceremony. These scenes are important in understanding this because we can draw from those previous moments to show that Eren was acting under a facade the entire time, so that he could cope with his situation to get through it all and save everyone. Eren never wanted to be in this role. That's why in the rumbling opening, the line, "I never wanted to play the king," is sung. For the first time in the entirety of Attack on Titan, there is no facade on Eren. This right here is the real Eren Yeager. The person who was hiding inside all of that hurt was never allowed to come out, as from the very start, he was forced to go down this path of destroying the world. If he had a choice, he'd be in the cabin with Mikasa, and there would be no rumbling or any Titans. I'm sure after giving everyone a succinct explanation that is factually correct, well, there will be no trolls spreading misinformation or lies. Right, fellas? Right? Eren doesn't want to die and wants to be with everyone and Mikasa. Armin, hearing this, tells Eren that there must be some other way. But Eren states that he killed billions of people, and for that reason, he will never be forgiven. How could he? Even if they didn't stop him, he would have flattened everything to completion that day. He then recalls his birth and being given the name Eren by Grisha, as he doesn't quite recall, except for the words Grisha said to him, "Eren, you are free." So Armin, realizing all that Eren's been through, understands what it took to become the greatest villain of all time, and in the end, hating himself for what he had become. Armin then wakes up and he sees Mikasa coming out from the dust carrying Eren's severed head. Turns out, Eren decided with his final action to make all Titans vanish, meaning anyone still left on the planet that is a pure Titan or a wall Titan or Titan shifter now get to turn back into normal human beings once again, bringing life back to his friends and those who fell victim centuries ago. It's also revealed that Eren talked to each other and every one of them, much like how Eren talked to Mikasa or Armin. He told Connie his mother would turn back into a human, Annie that she would live a long life, as Annie in tears said that she never asked for any of this, calling him a suicidal blockhead, a reference to Season 1. However, Peak wishes she could have talked to Eren because she never seemingly got the chance to, as Eren seemingly just didn't talk to her. I find this funny, by the way, the fact that Pete just wished she could talk to him and Eren just not. So we got one of the more emotional moments where Levi sees his dead friends over the years, Oluo, Petra, Hanj, Erwin, Mike. He realizes this very thing is what they dedicated their hearts for, and that this is the true meaning of the phrase. Even Connie and John see the ghost of Sasha, dedicating her heart to them as they begin to cry. Falco, seeing Gabby, runs to hug tackle her, but instead, Gabby hits a dragon suplex on him. Reiner reunites with his mother, who tells him that after all of this time, he is more than enough. She doesn't need his father. All she needs is her son. So Mikasa then goes to lay Eren to rest under the tree, the place he loved to rest in Episode 1, and the very first place we saw Eren in Episode 1 of Attack on Titan, is now the final resting place in the final episode. After that, Secretary Mueller is confronted by the Eldians as they inform them that the Titan power has vanished and that Eren Yeager is dead. At first, they're clearly distraught and ready to fight, but Armin puts a stop to that as he announces himself as an Eldian from Paradis, the very one that killed the Attack Titan, Eren Yeager. As this happens, Mikasa meets with Ymir. For the first time ever, we see her eyes clearly as she smiles, and Mikasa thanks her for allowing her to exist and meet Eren in this world, as she understands exactly what she was going through with her long, nightmarish love for King Fritz. 3 years later, we see Historia raising her daughter after the day which is known as the Battle of Heaven and Earth. Those who survive that day will forever live with the trauma of that day, and as the world goes through all of this, new fears arise. Because of this, the nation of Eldia have formed a new army controlled by the Jaegerists out of fear of retaliation for those left on the other side of the sea. In the crowd, as the new Jaegerists chant, we can see Hitch and Rico there, still doing their thing as Nicolo and the girl that Sasha saved, Kaya, are in the crowd. The fight that was started that day will never end, not until Eldia ceases to exist, or those on the other side cease to exist, just like before. As the former Titan shifters on the boat travel to meet with Historia and the Jaegerists, they all sit around a table as Armin reads out the letter that Historia sent them. Annie asks Armin if any of this is going to work, to which Armin says they betrayed the island, killed the most revered man of all Eldian people, Eren, and to make matters worse, they are now the ambassadors of the allied nations over the sea. While Peak wouldn't be surprised if they attacked them right here, Connie reminds them that her first move was to protect John's family and his mother. Above all else, though, is that when they see them, they'll want to know their story of how the two groups of people that were trying to kill each other initially were able to wake up and put it all behind themselves to fight to save the world and then advocate for peace. While this is happening, Mikasa is waiting for them to come visit Eren and his grave at the very same tree from episode 1 of the series, as we see that Paradis has made major progress in rebuilding as there are no more walls, only scars left on the ground from the rumbling. Mikasa says that she'll miss Eren so much, and just as she starts to cry, a bird flies down and wraps the scarf back around Mikasa, symbolizing that they are now free from war and hatred. Nightmare outside the walls Eren wanted to get rid of is now finally over. Mikasa, remembering all he did for her, remembers the most important memory of them all, the time that Eren wrapped the scarf around her to protect her and keep her warm. As time passes, Mikasa grows old, unable to walk and only using a wheelchair to get around. Surrounded by her family, she visits his grave one more time. Now seeing that Paradis has heavily industrialized with cars and giant buildings as the trees have grown even more since that day, she shows her grandchild the grave of Eren, and she herself, at the end of her life, barely able to do so, is helped to put the last flower she'll ever give to Eren on his gravestone as she then passes away from old age, retaining the scarf wrapped around her by Eren from all those decades ago. Now, as even more time passes, we see the tree continue to grow over the years as the cycle of war starts once more, as decades in the future, cities are brought to ruin, and yet the only thing that remains is Eren's final resting place. Even more time passes as the tree is now colossal, and a girl who looks somewhat similar to Mikasa and her dog find that tree on the hill that started it all. This is exactly what Eren said would happen, is that war never changes, and that no matter what, no matter how much time or however big the disaster may be, humanity's need to war and conflict will always drive them back into the line of war with hatred. Attack on Titan's story is a representation of the human cycle, of how humans create conflict, resolve them, forget them, and eventually start it all over once again. The only difference is how the wars are waged. At one time, it was a Titan empire. Another, it was an oppressive country seeking control over the world with Titans to persecute the sinners of generations past. Now, it's to destroy the world once more with modern military, heat-seeking missiles. Eren could never stop conflict, but he could guarantee that his friends died in a time of peace. That the very goal he wanted to achieve from the beginning, eliminate all of the Titans, could happen. Eren knew better than anyone else that without them gone, there would be no chance for peace, for the future of Eldians, and the world outside of it. Attack on Titan is a story about the struggle of human conflict and the stories of these people within it. It is about how war has and will never change, and that no matter what, conflict will always be created. Attack on Titan is a representation of the human condition. Alright, I hope I don't cry over this. I did writing it. I did writing this entire script. So, here we go. Trying my best. Thank you all so much for your support over the last 4 years since I started covering this series. You all mean so much to me, and your subscriptions, your likes, your comments, your viewership, they've changed my life. I love you all, and I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Now that my 15 minutes of fame is up, and I am back to being irrelevant like I once was, I shall never forget what you, the people who are watching, did for me. I will take this time in my life to my grave with nothing but happiness and gratitude for you. Thank you, Isayama. Thank you, staff from all over the world who have ever worked on Attack on Titan. You all mean so much to me because without you, I am nothing, but I never was. But thankfully, I can say, thanks to Attack on Titan, that I was. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you everyone for your love, for your effort, for your support. Have a good day. And if it's the last time we'll be seeing each other, thank you for being here. It was an honor. Financially support the channel, wow, that was a segue, by becoming a patron to gain access to my mega One Piece arc reviews and first impressions. Thank you for the years of support. I love you.